Hey, Rich here. Tip on just washing your bike. A lot of people think, oh, what's the big deal, you know? But there's a lot of little precautionary things you can do to help your bike last a little longer and just take a better care of it overall. One is make sure you always have an exhaust plug to keep water out of your exhaust. One, it keeps water from going in your motor. Two, keeps it from getting your packing wet. You don't want to get your packing wet because it won't last as long. This here, so you can take your air filter off, which I'm going to do in a minute, and put this in place of it to keep water out from the air box and still wash your air box out without getting your air filter wet and letting anything get inside the carburetor as well. So that's what I need to do is remove that. And the other thing also, I'd like to have a little bit of paper towels also to stick down in the air box. In case any water does get by this, I want to make sure there's something there to stop it. Alright, sometimes the Husky air box cover comes off a little hard. You always want to pull the first little tab up here in the corner. And understand there's a pin here, close, and then there's one down here. So you got to pop them first. This one's pop, and then pop this one. I always try and get my fingers as close to as possible. A lot of people keep on pulling. No, now you actually just want to push down and back because of the way it hooks up to the air box. It's not a pull. Just get the two pins pulled out first, and then push. Get it off. Sometimes they're a little bit of a bugger to get off. Now removing the air filter, something I always try and tell people, because you don't want any dirt obviously fall in the air boot as least amount as possible. And the only reason it usually happens is because there's a lot sitting on top of the air filter itself. Then when you go to pull it off, you hit parts of the top of the air box and it knocks it off, pulls it off, and just drops it right into the air boot. So a lot of times what I'll do is try and put a paper towel up over top of that, just to kind of trap the dirt in a sense a little bit, and it's just less prone to fall in the air boot itself. Seems to work out. So just one little small little thing. Just be real careful pulling it back out. You don't want to get any dirt in there as much as possible, and you always want to wipe it, check it, make sure. I always like to look at the air filter itself inside as well, just to make sure you didn't get any blow by or wasn't any noticeable place where dirt was actually getting in. Alright, as I said, now I'm going to put a rag, and don't forget to remove this later, just to stop anything from coming in past this if anything does leak in. You don't want to really, when you get here with a pressure washer, you don't want to be too hard, like, you know, spend a lot of time. It's almost just go give it a pass, a couple passes back and forth. You don't want to just hold the trigger there with the water on, just, you know, blatantly pushing water into the motor. You're just going by, just trying to wash it off. And that goes in the same in like with steering head bearings, your linkage, you know, just washing the bike off. Don't be sitting there trying to get it into a seal or anything like that, obviously. So you just want to be careful of that. All right, so now we're ready to do that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start the pressure washer up. And we're going to rinse the bike off first. A lot of times, understand that people just start putting soap on. If you read what it says on the soap bottle, most times it'll tell you to put it to a wet surface. Wet the bike down first and get the heavy stuff off. I often, depending on how muddy the bike is, also will lay the bike on its side and wash the bottom off first as well to get most of the heavy stuff off the bottom. Back here by the chain guide, the shark fin, whatnot, and the frame as well, so when you go to put it on the stand, you're not going to be able to see that anyway. And that's about it. Just make sure, I use for cleaner the stuff that I buy at Dollar General, because I'm cheap. If anybody knows me, know I'm cheap. But Dollar General, it's the stuff called Awesome. It's like $3 for a 64-ounce bottle, and I even dilute that down a little bit, and it seems to do pretty good. I will use a brush maybe on my handguards where sap gets. If you're an off-road guy, you know what I mean. But for the most part, it gets your bike pretty clean. And I often also remove my tank, plug the carburetor vent tube, or I'm sorry, the carburetor vent line, fuel line, from getting water in the carburetor, and wash the bike from there with the tank off. Just helps you get a little bit extra clean, and it's easier to work on that way. Also, while you're at it, it's a good idea to remove the louvers from your radiator. A lot of times you get leaves and stuff built up behind them. Always remember to put when you're washing your radiators, to go from the back out. A lot of times the mud comes in this direction. A lot of people turn and wash it in. No, always wash it out the other way, the way it came back in. So you don't want it to try and blow it through. It'll just clog your radiators up a lot more and have less life. So, and also, after a couple washes, it's a good idea to take off your ignition cover, spray it down with maybe some WD, and just let it air out sometimes. Sometimes water will seep in there. It's a good idea to get in the habit of pulling this off and checking it out regularly anyway. And that's about it. We're going to try and wash her up. Alright, we finished washing the bike up here. And I just want to make mention, if you don't have one of these to replace the air filter with when you wash your bike, you should try and get in the habit of at least covering the air filter with a plastic bag. A lot of people, even with the airbox cover on, you get home, you wash the bike, a lot of times water will still get into your airbox and therefore make your air filter wet. Then a lot of people start their bike up. When you start your bike up, you suck in all kinds of water through the wet air filter into your motor. Put something over the air filter itself, or just take it off like we do here. Also, with your cleaners, if you are using something pretty high potency, make sure you dilute it. A lot of times, if you put it on straight, it'll discolor your motor, so be conscious of that. Also, another thing, grab my seat here. One of the major things that I always do, I was taught, was take your seat off and at least overnight after washing your bike, kind of just stand it up on end, so all the water is going to drain out of the seat foam, therefore giving your seat foam better life. A lot of times if they stay wet, saturated, they get soft sooner and they don't last as long. So this is Rich Lafferty with some tips on about washing your bike.